Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Wednesday morning. Today it's the world of sports. We're talking about the world of fishing with our fishing expert and our fishing guide. That's right. We're going to talk about San Luis Reservoir out there by Los Banos. 436 MeTV option 11. The water levels all over the state are very high right now, and that's probably a good thing. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Welcome back to the program here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno on a Wednesday morning. Glad you're here. A little bit of a programming note for tomorrow. It should be an interesting show. We have two guests. One, Paul Diktos. He is the Fresno County Assessor. We're going to talk to him about the Greek genocide. He wants to talk about that, but I'm also going to pin him down to a certain extent about property taxes right here in the city of Fresno. Steadily going up. Thank goodness we have Proposition 13, so they can only go up 2% a year at the most, or many of us wouldn't be able to afford to keep those homes that we bought several years ago, right? Anyway, Paul Diktos is going to be here, and then Connie Clendenin is going to be here from Teen Valley Ranch out of Madera. Friday, Rich Little, the comedian. And then Monday, if you want to go that far out, we've got the one and only Dennis Hart talking about the Donald Trump regime and campaign. Seems like Hillary Clinton is jumping in again, too, as of yesterday. All right, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375 as usual, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a live broadcast, so you can call in right now. We have an open phone line at 436 MeTV option 11. 43.6, 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with a TV outdoor digital antenna. Then the replays come up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. A lot of water is already gushing down from the mountains all over the state of California, not just here in the Central Valley. The spring runoff is on. That means that rivers all over California are going to be running high, and I mean high and fast. That also means that reservoirs are going to be full, near capacity in some cases. Roll a videotape. Show you exactly what I'm talking about, my friends. This is the case with San Luis Reservoir, located about 12 miles west of Los Banos, along State Route 152, which, by the way, crosses Pacheco Pass. The artificial lake is about 99% full, and that is a welcome sight for fishermen who love to go out and try their luck at catching stripers. You might recall in past shows right here on Connect with Me, our fishing expert Roger George had expressed concern that the lake was getting too low. They were letting water out, but that was all before all of this rain that we had come down this past winter. State officials completed their final water survey up in the mountains yesterday, or not yesterday, Monday, that's right, and the snowpack is 42.5 inches, or 190% of normal. Experts are warning to expect water levels in the rivers here in the Central Valley and around the state to be running high and fast by midsummer even. As for San Luis, will more water mean more fish? That's the $64,000 question. We can ask our expert today. Nonetheless, it's the fourth largest embankment dam in the U.S. Total capacity more than 2 million acre feet. Water is pumped uphill into the reservoir from the O'Neill forebay, which is fed by the California Aqueduct, and is released back into the forebay to continue downstream as needed for farming. It is used as part of the California State Water Project and the Central Valley Project. San Luis groundbreaking took place August 18th, 1962, as President John F. Kennedy highlighted the value of having San Luis.
It is a pleasure for me to come out here and help blow up this valley and the cause of progress. But if it had no other benefit than to permit us to look at this valley and others like it across the country, where we can see the greenest and most richest earth producing the greatest and richest crops in the country, and then a mile away see the same earth and see it brown and dusty and useless, and all because there's water in one place and there isn't in another. I know of no better trip for any president or any member of the House or Senate or indeed any citizen, particularly those of us who live in the East, where water is everywhere and is a burden, to realize how very precious it is here in the Western United States. And the other point that I think has been most useful about this trip is to see how Americans can work together. We are a very independent people, 180 million, and it is hard for us to agree on any course of action. We always have some different ideas of how that course of action can be made more perfect. And yet in this case, one part of your state has been willing to help another part, because they realize that as this state does well, so does the United States. Nothing could be more disastrous for this country than for the citizens of one part of the state to feel that everything that they have is theirs, and it should not be shared with other citizens of this state. And as one state does well, so do the others. And if one state stands still, so do all the rest. Progress represents the combined will of the American people. And only when they are joined together for action, instead of standing still and thinking that everything that has to be done has been done, it's only when they join together in a forward movement that this country moves ahead.
All right, pretty amazing stuff there. Live in our studio is Roger George, our fishing expert and an official tour guide of both San Luis and Millerton. He is also a future Hall of Famer here in Fresno, former decathlete and Olympian back in the 1970s. You know, he is a very, very large man. I mean, Roger George is twice my size, okay? But, you know, what can I say? He can take me out with one hand. He's still a good athlete. Look at him. He's in great shape. He could still compete today. 436-ME-TV, option 11. You know, I'm still not afraid, my friends. I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions, even to our bigger guests. Back in just a moment with your phone calls and our guest, Roger George.
Untamed Sports is now on KVHF 4.3.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
Back here on the program with Roger George, our fishing tour guide, our fishing expert. The former athlete that you are or were, you're going to be inducted when, in November?
November, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
So I'm excited to be inducted with David Carr and Melvin Eli here, Fresno State legends, and of course David played for Houston, and Melvin was in the NBA. So you know, it's a great class to go in with. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I guess there's going to be about 1,100 people down at Selland Arena in the Valdez Hall in November. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and you know, John, I got to correct you on something. You said how big I am. You know, I'm really not that big, but the only thing I'm really afraid of is big fish, really big fish.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, that's you know, fish fear me, women love me, you know, kind of thing. You've seen that around everywhere, you know. So, so I got to correct you on that. So.
No, you're still a very large person, okay? I wouldn't mess with you. But see, I'm still not afraid to ask the tough questions, my friend. I'm not afraid. You remember Jim Rome and Jim Everett?
Yes.
The tough questioner
yes.
got pushed over when he called him Chris Everett. You're not going to do that to me, are you?
No, I'm not, John. You gone fishing with me, so I'll be kind to you.
So you're not afraid. You're afraid of the big fish. All right, we have a series of 8 photos. Let's go through the 8 photos. Let's see how afraid you are of these stripers, my friend. You afraid of that big guy?
That was one I got at Millerton, and anyhow, he's about 17 pounds or so, and a really nice fish up there. I caught him on camera, as a matter of fact. Surprising.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. How about that
and,
one?
and that
Oh,
right
my
there,
God.
that's
Oh,
what
my
that's.
God.
I didn't catch that fish. That was Greg Meyerson. I talked to him yesterday, and he lives back in Connecticut. He is the world record holder. Holds all 4 world records for striped bass. That fish right there was over 81 pounds, and I got to hold it with him back there at a dedication they had in Falmouth, where they presented that to him for winning Angler of the Year for the East Coast. So he invited me to come back there, and I was with him. So that was fun. And then here's a nice fish that I caught on San Luis Reservoir. As it's filling up there a little bit more, you can see there's a little bit of water, and that was a really nice fish on a nice little cloudy day. That was a beautiful picture, so that was a nice one. And then there's another fish there that I think was about probably 18, 20 pounds that I had. So you know, we've had some nice fish in the last couple of years here, up to 30 pounds, and there's one that I got at Millerton. That was probably about 26 pounds, and
That's a biggie.
that was a nice fish. And you know, I try to put back just about all of them. And then right here is a friend of mine that I helped catch this fish. I was guiding him. Anyhow, he was really excited. It's his personal best, Marko Vucic, and here in Fresno, and that was about 23 pounds. And I'll tell you what, you talk about excited guy. He was excited, and obviously that's a beautiful fish.
San Luis? Yeah.
That was San Luis Reservoir. Here's a fish that I won a tournament over there a couple of years ago with this fish that was 23 pounds. And that was a fun fish because that came out of the blue. And I won the tournament, took their money, and it was a great day. So we
Wow.
had fun. And then
And that's the old boat right there.
that's my boat right there. That's a Starcraft 21-foot Viper. And I have a 250 horsepower Merc on it, and it's a racing engine. So it's set up to be trolling and also to fish like a bass fisherman does, casting and all that. So it's a very
Yeah.
versatile boat
Yeah,
that I
very
can use.
expensive boat too.
Yeah, it is. But I'm luckily sponsored by Starcraft back east, so that that helps to take the sting out of it.
sting away,
And
yeah.
you know, otherwise Mama would not have agreed. You know,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway, okay, so you're a tour guide, both at San Luis and Millerton. What does that mean?
Well, you know, you say tour guide. I don't want to, you know, it's like the USS Minnow. You know, Gilligan's Island, a tour guide. Actually, I'm a fishing guide. You know, so I'm actually the official fishing guide for
Well, what's the
San
difference
Luis.
between a fishing guide and a tour guide? It's the same thing.
Well, there's 2 different things. A tour guide would be more of a scenic kind of would be a scenic guide,
Okay.
and I actually am qualified. I do that over there too. But my main purpose is as a fishing guide. So
To help people catch fish? Is that
to help people
the
catch
accurate description?
That would be the deal. I'm a guide first and foremost, and but you know, if some people want to come over and see the lake, and what's interesting, Millerton and San Luis both have a huge amount of wildlife and a lot of things that you can see there, eagles, all this stuff, and so they're both really nice destinations for folks to see stuff. And a lot of times I'm out there fishing, and I'll say, hey, let's go over and take a look at this. They want to see it. And, you know, beautiful wildflowers or the elk herd. There's elk over at San Luis. There's herds around the lake.
Yeah.
So that's one of the unexpected things that guests run into over there. So we try to keep them away from the rattlesnakes, which we have a lot of this year, as a matter of fact.
Why is that?
Well, you know, we've had for the last couple of years, we've had very low water, of course, and the water at San Luis came up 175 vertical feet. 175. That's an unbelievable amount
Because of the rain.
change because of all the dumping of the water. So what happened was for the last couple of years, the water levels have been so low that what it's done is that a lot of the animals, and particularly snakes and stuff, created dens in areas that normally were underwater. So now we have suddenly 5 years later, the water comes up and those dens are now been covered. The snakes have to go somewhere. And so now we have 2 things going on. One is we got a lot of snakes, and number 2, the water's up high and the grasses are growing like crazy, so they're high. So the snakes have a lot of places to hide where you can't see them. So it's not a good place to walk around right now. The rangers are telling me they haven't seen this many snakes for years, and I certainly would not want to walk around the shoreline or through the tall grasses without being able to see what I'm stepping on.
Yeah, that's a good point. And be careful out there if you go out to San Luis. Does the same hold true for Millerton?
Yes, absolutely. Millerton right now is down 50%. It was near the top,
Right.
but they're trying to prepare right now as an irrigation lake. They're preparing for the onslaught of the water flow. I've been watching it very carefully, and yesterday it was 9,000 second feet coming in, which is a good amount. Today it went to 10,000. And so
That's
the
how much
reservoir
water is coming in
per second.
because of the snow melt.
Yes, so they're letting that 10,000 cubic feet per second is coming into the lake, and so that is input, and so now they're starting to increase the output, of course, downstream, and I didn't look at that as carefully, but the lake came up a little bit yesterday, so they're trying to keep it fairly even, and it's amazing how much water we're going to have that comes down. So
We're losing a lot of water that's just going to go
we're
into the ocean.
losing it, and you know,
It's
we
a
have.
shame, isn't it?
It is a shame. I mean, right now we're down. We've made room for about 250,000 acre feet of water that we have room at Millerton. So, and it's going to come up very quickly. When you get these huge amounts of water that come down the mountain, you got one thing. I'm just praying that what we have is we have a more moderate situation. We have this heat right now. The last couple of days, you see all of a sudden the inputs of water start to go up very quickly.
There's a spike, yeah.
And so right now, but this weekend, we're going to have a 32-degree drop in temperature.
I know.
And that will give us a little bit of respite here and maybe moderate things for a little bit. And that's the best thing we can hope for, is to spread this whole thing out rather than get a big slug of water at one time. That will create, you know, a lot of problems.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold off turning on my air conditioner this week because the PG&E bill.
I
you
hear
know that.
I heard that the PG&E bill was going to go out of sight this year. So I heard that it was going to go up, you know, like 40% for overusers that are people on the high end. It was going to be, you know, you're going to be penalized. So
Yeah.
I don't have the facts on that. So, but anyhow, I just heard that that was the case.
Yeah, and they're investing their money with you, as I understand it, PG&E. They're investing all of their income and their profits. It's a joke. 436-ME-TV. Option 11 is the phone number. We're talking about fishing today, and we're talking also a little bit about San Luis Reservoir. A lot more videotape to show you here on the other side of the break, so call in. Let your fingers do the walking. Push option 11 when you do call in. Got an open phone line. The one and only Roger George is here. Back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity and our academic and athletic achievements. On Wednesday, May 10th, it will be my pleasure to join John Malos on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno for a 1-hour interview to talk about all the great things happening at Fresno State. See you then.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to digital channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV guide.
This is by far the most epic striper trip I've ever had. I caught 2 stripers that are in the double digits. My first big fish broke my personal best. It came in at 38 inches and 27 pounds. So my brother Nick and I were invited by Roger George of Roger George Guide Service to go out and fish at San Luis. And we were trolling all day, and we're getting smaller fish, and then this fish hooked on.
Okay, keep your eye on that, okay? Okay, you got a good fish on here, man. All right, good. All right, okay. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna get the net out here, I think. Yeah, great idea. Let's see, that was a...
Yeah, it's supposed to be mine, man.
Okay, all right. All right, man. Okay, you know, what we can do here is just make sure that we gotta get that dog on. Okay, that was great. We'll finish off that. Okay, let's see. Okay, you didn't get your rod tip higher. Okay, let more line out.
What's the motor?
Let more line out. Oh gosh, you got a really nice fish. Oh yeah. Okay, okay.
That's my first little bass.
Okay.
Yeah, I got him. Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
Damn it, you took my fish.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
my goodness.
Hey, I told you, buddy. I told you.
Oh man. This is the picture of the fish right before we released it. And about a week later, it made the front cover of Western Outdoor News.
So there it is right there. And so that made the front cover of one of the big magazines, one of the big Fisher magazines.
Western Outdoor News is the biggie in California. It's the #1 weekly fishing report. So he was pretty excited about that, and that was the first time we ever fished together. And he caught that was a 27-pound fish. He caught another one that was just a little bit later that was 16 pounds. So it was it was an epic day. You don't have that happen too often, and that was a beautiful fish. We released both of them. And released them, with no problem whatsoever. They were healthy and all that, so that's a big part of what we try to do.
Have you been on the front cover of the Western Outdoor magazine?
Yeah, I actually have been on. That's the second time that I've been on the cover. That was I consider it me because that was our fish. Yeah,
because that was your fish.
Yeah.
So you consider that you?
Yeah, I consider it because it was my boat, all the stuff that we do, and they caught it. But anyhow, I was on there before with my record fish out of Millerton, my 50.3 pound fish. That was 27. Can you imagine? The fish that was 50.3 pounds was 48 inches. That was 38. So you got a fish that's a foot longer. It was a huge monster. So I was on the cover with it, and I was also on the cover of the Fish Sniffer, which is another large publication.
Were you photobombing somebody, or was it you?
No, it was me. It was me.
You weren't photobombing.
No.
All right.
No. Fishermen. No, good fishermen don't photobomb.
Oh, okay. So. I just wanted to make sure because I mean that's something I would do. I don't just photobomb. Say, hey, I was on the front cover. I was with Roger George. I didn't see it. Caller, you're on the air with Roger George. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to ask your guest there. I read in the paper about the 11. I guess Fresno Bee's laying off 11 full-time writers, and I was wondering if he was one of those writers, because I don't want to read the Fresno Bee and not get any fishing stories. And secondly, my question is, you read a lot about these 70, 80-pound catfish that are caught in the San Luis forebay, and I was wondering how true is that?
Well, okay. Number one question was about the Fresno Bee, and I actually was concerned about it because a lot of things happened to Fresno Bee. I'm an independent contractor with them, so I don't work in their newsroom or anything. But what I actually contacted them to see what the mechanics were here. And one of the nice things is that we have so much traffic that we have in our site and on our fishing report and on my column, that the good news is that they really see us as a valued asset, and
it's not going away.
It's not going away. We're going to change a little bit. They're going to change some stuff here. We're going to actually change things more to an online presence, and we're going to actually maybe be doing some other things. So we're going to be expanding our fishing gallery, our fishing picture gallery, which people love.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to probably maybe be bringing some videos into the fold here, and online, and I may be doing some actually commentary on a weekly basis as Roger's remarks as my column, kind of an adjunct to that. Right. So they're gonna actually expand it. So we're very fortunate, and I was concerned because when I heard that, I was going, oh my gosh,
they're laying off full-time employees.
Yeah,
an independent contractor. Your column appears every Wednesday in the sports section.
Yes.
I read it because I get the Bee, but
that makes two people, John.
Yeah, it makes two people. Well, I haven't read it today yet because I'll see it when I get home. But so you're going to expand your role there.
That appears to be the case with some of the things that we're doing. So we're trying to really, they're moving the Fresno Bee and what they're doing, their emphasis obviously from print over to online as much as possible.
Yeah.
Social media, the whole thing. So anyhow, I'm going to have to learn a little bit of this. So we'll see what we have there. The second thing, your second question was about the big catfish that are in San Luis, the forebay. Actually, the catfish get up to probably 30, maybe 35, 40 pounds. There may be exceptions to that. But what's really out there is sturgeon. And the sturgeon are the ones that guys are getting that they either snag them sometimes. Very few people catch them actually fishing for them. Most of the time it's snagging, trolling, or whatever. And they end up with a sturgeon. A friend of mine here just recently snagged one. We're out there trolling, and the fish, it was up in the big lake, but this has happened in the small lake and the forebay too. The fish was probably about 130, 40 pounds. He got it up there, had to cut it loose, let it go, and it didn't have tags for sturgeon, and it was oversized. It was bigger than the maximum that you can keep.
No.
So he had to let it go. So the sturgeon are out there, and you'll see them roll once in a while. I had one about 300 pounds that rolled by my boat up by the big pumps up on the big lake. So you'll see them once in a while, but the catfish, the species that we have, very seldom exceed 40 pounds or whatever. Some of the catfish back east, obviously, all the stuff you see on Facebook and all that, you see these huge catfish that weigh 90 pounds. And I think
we don't have that here.
No, we don't. Those are like the big flathead and stuff catfish. But, you know, most of the time back there, and I think the world record right now is like 130 pounds.
Okay.
So they talk about man-eating catfish and all that. Well, you know, maybe in Thailand, maybe they have some of those, or with those whales catfish that they have in Europe that are huge. So that maybe it could give you some idea.
All right, caller, kind of answers your question there, doesn't it? Or two questions.
Thank you, sir. Yes, it does.
Okay, anything else, quickly?
Now, I'm just, is the V going to continue giving reports on the different lakes in the valleys, and on their fishing, how their fishing is going, you know, that kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna expand it. What I'm hoping is that we expand it and that it will actually improve, because what the challenge you have in print is space. And I'm no newspaper person, but I have learned the hard way that I have so much space to work with. But online, we have unlimited space. And so the ability to do things and expand and put more information in is part of what I see happening with the online. So I think it should improve. So to answer your question, I think that it'll just get better as time goes on, and hopefully you'll be even happier.
Okay, got to go to break. We have an open phone line. If you want to call in, 436-MeTV, option 11. Just hit option 11. We'll put you on the air with Roger George. Today, we're talking about San Luis. We're going to be talking about Millerton. We're going to talk specifically about San Luis when we come back, in the comparisons to Millerton and what kind of fish you can catch out there. And, of course, the construction was completed out there at San Luis back in 1967. That was 5 years after the President, John F. Kennedy, spoke out there at the groundbreaking, believe it or not, August 18th, just a little more than a year prior to his assassination. You're welcome to call in. Got an open line. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models.
All right, some technical issues there. We didn't mean to disconnect with you. We mean to connect with you. It's called Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. We have an open phone line at 436-MeTV, option 11. I do want to roll a videotape, and it's called San Luis Reservoir. This is what it looked like on April the 1st. April the 1st, Roger, 99% full. Of course, construction was completed back in 1967. That was 5 years after JFK, of course, spoke at the groundbreaking. So we're now into 50 years. This is the 50th anniversary of San Luis. Can we roll the videotape? Roll it and take it. Thank you very much. There it is right there. So explain to our viewers, Roger, if you would, what kind of fish are in this gigantic reservoir, which holds more than 2 million acre-feet of water. It's right off of 152. You know, you were talking to me the other night. You're talking about it having how many different bodies of water? There are 3 different dimensions to this whole reservoir, right?
The state park actually has 3 bodies of water in the state park here at San Luis. State recreation area, and most people don't know it, but there's Las Banas Creek Reservoir that's just south, just basically actually to the east.
What's that we're
Las
looking
Banas.
at there?
That right there looks like we are looking at the Romero, that's the visitor center, which is off of 152 on the north side of the lake. Right there, we're looking at Dinosaur Point, and we're going towards the south. And right there, we're obviously looking at San Luis Reservoir, and that's 152 as we go by there, and they're going by fairly quickly here. But you know, the lake in this example here looks like it's just right up to almost the tip top. So that's wonderful, and we hadn't seen this for 5 years, and of course it looks like an ocean out there compared to what we've seen. But for a lot of people, they drive by the lake, and I've had so many people tell me, they say, you know, we've driven by this lake for years and years and years. We've always wondered about fishing here. And what we have in the lake, primarily, the primary species is striped bass, of course. And this lake is renowned, the Big Lake and the Forebay down below that you see to the left of the screen. Both of those are renowned for having world record size stripers. It is one of the top striper locations in the United States. So that is the #1 species.
Is that 152 right there?
That's 152 going by right there on the north side of the reservoir. And there's people that are parked right there going down to fish.
And that's where the rattlesnakes are, what you're talking about, that grassy area.
All the grassy, and you can see all the green right there. It's all heavy grass. So yes, and it's difficult. You don't want to be flying through there. Let your kids go out there and walk around in it, which a lot of people do.
Yeah, yeah. But there are other fish out there besides striped bass. There's bass, sturgeon, crappie, carp, Sacramento perch, catfish. We talked about the catfish earlier. That's where you have to be careful right there along that grassy area, the rocks. People are, you know, milling about down there near the beach and near the water. That's where the rattlers hide, right in those rocky areas. Am I right about that?
Well, the rocky areas are really a big thing for them to hide, but the grassy area, which is almost the entire lake, is surrounded by high grass with all the water we've had. That makes it where you don't have any distance between the shoreline, and where the grass is at. So the grass goes right down to the top of the lake. So that can be problematic if you're walking along the shore. So you're walking in grass, so you need to be watching. But you know, going back to your question about the other fish, you know, obviously there's largemouth bass that are in both the Forebay and the Big Lake and the detention dam that's down below the little lake, Las Banas Creek. They all have largemouth bass in it, so they're in there. Bass fishermen do fish there. There are crappie out there. The catfish, there's guys catching catfish on a regular basis. The Forebay is probably more well known for catfish than the Big Lake. We have Sacramento perch, which are a weird-looking fish. That's kind of a cross between a bass and a crappie. It's not a cross, but it looks like, and something very few people have seen, really. And they get up to 2, 3, 4 pounds, and we run into them every once in a while. The sturgeon, of course, are in there, incidentally, and there's not really a fishery there, but we have them, and they're there. So those are the main ones, and of course there's carp, and bluegill, all that.
All right, caller, you're on the air with Roger George. What is your question?
I have a comment to make about the San Luis Reservoir. I used to skydive up there in the late 1970s. And after a hard day of skydiving, we'd often go to the reservoir, either in the Forebay or the main one, and fish. I caught a 54-pound striper in 1978. But the thing I'd really like to stress here is that the same day I caught that 54-pounder, there was like an 8-year-old kid who caught a 50-pound striper right off the bank. So, you know, it's a good place to take your family. And you do have a chance to get big stripers and big catfish right off the bank.
You were there during the apex of probably the fishing, and when the big fish were really predominant. So you caught a fish that today would be very, very difficult to come up with. The lake has changed. You know, the dynamics of the lake have changed. There's absolutely huge fish that are in there, but we don't see as many 50-pound fish as what we used to. but there's a much bigger population of stripers, and so the back in that period of time, there was a different blend of bigger fish and smaller fish, and then the fish they really got fished out. A lot of people were taking a lot of the big fish rather than trying to preserve them. And back in the 70s, we just weren't as conservation minded as we are now. So a lot of people were taking fish that they really should, put back if they can. But a lot of times from a shoreline, if you get a fish in, it's impossible to put that fish back. He just floats and dies. Yeah, that fish probably just, you wouldn't have a chance to put it back. So hopefully you fed a lot of people with that fish, and that's a good memory.
Yeah. Caller, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you still go out to San Luis, or no? Have you given that? Are those days gone? Are they over?
They're gone. I'm physically unable to, and I really miss those days.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I'd really like to do that. I'm pretty sure you could still catch some pretty good sized cats at the forebay where it goes by the Highway 33 there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. I work with a huge number of fishermen, and so I keep. My job is to keep in contact with a lot of people. And so I have an idea with the catfish. And there are some very big catfish that are caught at night. And the fishing can be epic out there. I fished on Sunday and caught over 20 fish up to 7 pounds. And, that was not an incredible, thing to do. So, I mean, how many places can you do that? But you got to know what you're doing, too. That's what I do. So, but the big fish are there, and you can catch a monster. You never know. I tell people this. You never know at San Luis what you're going to hook. You just don't know what your next fish might be. So your point is well taken. I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you very much, caller, for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Let me roll a videotape. Roll it and take it. It's called Before and After the Rain. Go ahead and roll it. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that there's so much water there. Now, this is before the rain. Later on in this piece of videotape, you're going to see what it's like after the rain took place. This place filling up to 99% full. With more water, does there come more fish?
Yeah. It has a huge impact because biologically,
that's before the rain, though.
Yes, that right there was before. They're showing some before and after stuff right there. It looks like. But what you've got is that when you have water, if you've had basically a lot of fish that have been kind of captured in a small area, biologically they don't reproduce because the biology of it they just don't reproduce a whole lot because it's just the way Mother Nature works. Whenever we have huge amounts of water come in, then you have fish that turn on biologically. They spawn a lot more. You have a lot faster growth. You have a lot more food in the water because of all the nutrients and all the different things that feed everything from the teeny tiny little crustaceans all the way through the whole structure of the different sizes of types of species, all the way up to the bigger fish. It's just a whole ecological chain. So you have lots more nutrients, and so this kind of an impact here, if we had no more water change for the next couple of years, the biologists tell me that this one really good year will have 3 years of positive impact in the future. So the next 3 years,
dry that is.
We should have 3 more really good years, no matter what happens at this point from this single year.
Even if we get zero allocation of rain in the next 2 years.
All things being equal, that's what they tell me. That's the impact that it has. So these fish really turn on. And biologically, the way Mother Nature works, whenever you see big influxes of water, the fish turn on and go crazy, grow faster, they have more room, more space, and so they fill it. And so it can really have a big impact. I think it's going to really help the lake.
See, right here they're showing bits and pieces of the drought, what it looked like before, and then they go back to the same area and show what it's like now.
Exactly.
And so you're talking from an ecological point of view. Ecologically, is that why there are more fish?
Yeah. Well,
it's the ecosystem,
it's
right?
the ecosystem, the whole thing, all the way from small little, your little plankton and all that this huge amount of water has an impact. It's covering a lot of areas that have been grassy and grown for the last 5 years. So you have trees and brush and all this that now
So
is
there's more
is a food
opportunity
source.
to reproduce?
That what it does is more food means more reproduction, more space means more ability to not be captured by another fish. It has an impact on everything. The fish grow faster. They biologically will reproduce better. These fish right now are growing very quickly. So it has an impact on multiple dimensions.
What kind of an impact did the drought have on San Luis?
Well, what it did was...
Reduction in fish, obviously.
Well, it really concerned us because we felt that there might be a die-off. When the water gets down really low, you have a heat problem, and San Luis doesn't have what you consider to be a channel. It has an area that's a deep area next to the main pumps out there. Right now, for example, the other day I was measuring it. It's almost 300 feet deep, out and right in front of the pump. So that's a big hole out there. But the whole thing is like a punch bowl, and it kind of goes down and goes down towards the pumps that are on the east side by the dam. So, what happens is when water goes down is that your water temperatures in the summer are a real concern because of the depth of the water, that those fish can't get down to where they can sustain themselves. If they get too warm, they have a problem. And number two, the oxygen in the water starts to go way down too. So actually you have an inverse relationship that goes on here. One is that as it gets hotter, the fish need more oxygen. So they need more oxygen in order to survive in hotter water. But on the other side of the coin, that as the water gets hotter, it holds less oxygen. So the fish become very stressed because they're not able to get the oxygen that they need in hot water. So it creates a problem, and they will suspend and they'll become inactive, and so they don't reproduce like they would normally. So it has a lot of impacts on Mother Nature, just on a negative way.
All right, open phone line 436-MeTV option 11. We're back with our program in just a moment.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV. If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how affordable MeTV is at 905-1925.
So it's nearing the end of the day, and we hit one last location, and the striper just hammers my lure. It came in at 36 inches and 16 pounds.
Oh, huh?
There you go. Oh, another way. Oh.
It's a big fish. It's a big fish. Hold the fish.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, hold the pipe. There you go. Just keep let it go. Goodness. You go, big fish. Okay. Yeah, you got a pretty cool fish there, mate. Oh, wow. Okay, good. Okay. What we're going to have to do is, since you're not documenting, I'm going to have to work with you on that drag.
All right. It's kind of loose right now, right?
Okay, well,
that's what we want.
Yeah, just keep that sucker up even higher. Yeah. Just let him go, and I'm going to just...
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
Okay, wow. Let him stay down in there. Okay. Okay, down here. Okay, yeah, just don't let him get you down that cliff.
Yeah.
Cliff way up and way
Yeah.
Should I?
Oh, wow. Okay, let me bring him over here. That sounds better, right?
Okay, you know what? You drag right there. Just put the way up here, but don't drag any more drag there. You're fine.
Okay. Drag is good, right?
It looks like it is there.
I'll just wear it out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead while we get going.
Oh. Oh no! Yes! Wow.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, what's the deal with your brother here? Oh, my goodness.
All right. Hey, Ming. Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, you know what? That was an awesome fish right there. And your brother Nick is over here. All right.
Thank you for the awesome trip.
All right, man. Hold that sucker up a little higher there. We can see him.
Thanks, Roger.
All right.
All right, Roger George is a fishing guide out there at San Luis and at Millerton Lake. Now, let me ask you something about people. Now, you're an official fishing guide. You've been doing this for an entire generation. You know the sport inside and out. You've studied it, you live it, you breathe it. You go out almost every weekend. You've been selected to be the official fishing guide out there at both Millerton and San Luis. Are there a lot of people that go out there and they try to portray themselves as fishing experts, and they're really not? They're fake.
Well, you know, we're in the era of fake news, and in the
Yes.
fishing world, fake news is a big thing. It happens on several levels, and I actually wrote several columns about this.
I saw some of your columns about it. That's why I'm asking.
It's a great point. You know, number one, you get a lot of people that have a video or a GoPro. They'll go out and catch a few fish, and you know, there's several things that they do that are really you know, difficult to handle for a lot of fishermen. That are usually they work hard at what they do. They are good because they are passionate, and then you have people that go out there and their whole purpose is to go out and shoot a video, and basically promote themselves.
But they're imposters.
And in most cases they have not done anything that is something that anybody would be excited about.
They have no formal training, in other words.
Well,
right?
they haven't been. A lot of them have not had the experience and or the results to be able to say, "Hey, I'm this or I'm that." And you know, and what happens is that these videos are portrayed, and then what you see on there is that they'll be talking about it, and unfortunately, sometimes they'll have a good fishery, and they're catching fish because somebody else told them about a place. What they'll do is they'll come and fish it. And then they'll go, hey, I found this place. Well, somebody else told them about it and told them not to tell anybody. So then they are now promoting it on YouTube. And all these people are going, oh my gosh. So what happens is that they go in there and they literally rape that fishery. And unfortunately, and it isn't because of their skill, it's just that they're promoting it on a social media. And then they're trying to develop a big persona.
In some cases, are they not putting the fish back?
In most cases, they're not. Most of these situations are where people are catching the fish, keeping them. It also gives them a platform for a lot of people that are basically the criminal element that are out there. We have that was part of the arrest that happened here a couple of last year of guys selling. Some people were catching stripers and coming to Fresno, selling them. And what happened is they did a hit on them, and they found out that they were selling drugs, so they were handling counterfeit money. They had all kinds of things that they were doing, and they were just using all the information they got from social media and people wanting to be a big star to show them, and they were using it. And, you know, it's one thing to go out and go fish. It's another thing to do it in a way that you abuse the fishery. That's a difficult thing. And the second thing that you run into is just that a lot of people will tell you, hey man, I caught a 20-pound striper, and the reality is about 10, maybe 11 pounds, and you know, the exaggeration issue. So a lot of people get turned off when they see this and go, gee, many Christmas, you know, just, you know, it's part and parcel of our society today, fake news, and people wanting to promote themselves, unfortunately, and you know, I'm in a business where I have to promote myself. You know, I have to. Not in a business, but for a lot of people.
But you're not embellishing your record or your knowledge.
No.
Much like many of these imposters are.
Well, and that's what happens. And if you look at it, a lot of times they'll be out there and they'll take whatever information they can gather from somebody who's done the hard work. Then what they do is then they use it, and then they try to promote it and build it into an entire, situation where thousands of people are looking, going, wow, this guy's great. Well, he wasn't the guy that did it. It was somebody else that was the one who did all the work. So, it's just, there are situations that, where that can happen. And it's a case-by-case basis, but we just see a lot of it. And I have people send me stuff in. They say, hey, this fish is 5 pounds, it's a bass, and it's maybe 2 pounds. So, our credibility is on the line, too, when we report it. And people send in stuff saying, hey, I caught a 30-pound striper. and we find out the thing was actually 19 pounds. Well, that's still a beautiful fish,
But don't embellish it.
but they did that on purpose, and I have to call it. Our integrity as far as reporting is on the line too.
All right, what about some of these non-compliant engines that are going to be out there this weekend? Maybe, I know it's going to be a little cooler, maybe about 30 degrees cooler, but still, when the weather gets hot, people hit the lake with their boats, with their spouses, with their kids. Are there people out there on a consistent basis that are using non-compliant engines, either at San Luis or at Millerton? And what kind of problems do these present, these non-compliant engines?
Well, what's happened is it's been a big shock to the entire fishing world, because a lot of your older anglers had bought engines back maybe in the 1990s. And there were two-stroke engines that they typically use on a bass boat, for example.
Well, tell us, just before you get into that, tell us what is banned? What can't you use?
Well, the two-stroke engine that's usually after 2001 that doesn't have an Energy Star on it, that means that it's compliant, is what you need to have to show the ranger or anybody inspecting that boat that you are energy efficient compliant. The Energy Stars are key. So on a high-end boat that with a good engine should have 2 to 3 stars on it. Now, I just warn some people out there. People think they're getting away with this, but it's going to be a massive problem if you buy an Energy Star off of the internet and they catch you. It's fraud, and they will crucify you. They've already told me that they will not put up with that. So there's guys that are doing that, and they think they're being real smart about it because they're trying to get around this and keep the engines they have, but don't do it. Just let me tell you, don't do it. It's going to catch up with you badly.
All right, how about San Luis now? I mentioned the snowpack, 42 inches, 42.5, 190% of normal. That water is running down. Let me roll the videotape on Millerton. We got this drone shot that we've used before. Go ahead and roll it, take it. As far as San Luis is concerned, now this is Millerton.
That's
during
Millerton.
the drought.
That's Rattlesnake Island right there.
Yeah, that's during the drought, but we've used this many times. Okay, at San Luis, the water is pumped uphill into the reservoir from the O'Neill forebay, which is then fed into the California Aqueduct. At Millerton, how does it work?
It's different. The water comes from up above the lakes like Shaver and Mammoth Pool, and it comes down.
They feed into the lake.
They come down a penstock, and then they're fed into Millerton, and they come through the Kirchhoff pipeline to generate power, which was built back in 1978 or 80 or whatever it was when they built that. And that's where the water's controlled that comes into the lake. And so that's what they use to control how much is coming in. So it's a different lake. This lake right here is used as a
what
put
makes
and
it
take.
different? Just the size, obviously, and what else?
Well, the big thing is that San Luis is a lake that's basically just a big filling tank. You fill it up and you drain it out. This right here is basically water comes in at the upper end in a river where it's pumped in.
It's
from
constantly
Kirchhoff.
coming in.
It's constantly coming in, and then it's being released. So you've got a whole different dynamics where you have water being released from the dam, and you have water that's coming in from the upper end. So it's a different animal, and that has a big impact upon the fish in the lake and what they do. So, like for stripers, that's a big issue.
I was just going to ask you, how much different is the fishing, if you can explain that?
Incredibly different. A lot of people fish San Luis and are successful over there, come to Millerton, and they leave it and they just go, I'm never going to come back to Millerton because the techniques that they're using don't work. Because a couple of reasons. One is that Millerton is a very clear lake, so the fish can see very far. Number two, your fish are typically large fish. It's a smaller population of very big fish because it's been pared down. What you have in there right now comes from the plants that were way back in 1970s and 80s. Those fish, whatever's left over that hasn't been taken out, have now grown. So these fish are smarter, older fish. So at San Luis, you have a lot of smaller fish. They have a whole spectrum of fish through a whole range from small to big.
And they can't see as far.
The small fish are not, just like an adolescent, they're not as smart. The big fish, like at Millerton, are much smarter fish. They're not fooled as easier. They can see really good in the water at Millerton, and it's a rocky terrain, so that sound is a big issue. The bigger fish are very homed in on sound and sight. So a lot of people you make way too much noise. they really don't realize that they need to be far, far away from themselves in order to catch one of these bigger fish. So they use a lot of techniques that they may accidentally do it, but on a regular basis, they have a very difficult time. So the tactics are very different. San Luis, I do a lot of down rigging. You can cast the shoreline. You can do a lot of stuff over there. Millerton is a whole different animal. You have very steep banks typically, and you have big rocks. You have very large fish that when they hear you coming, they're out of there.
They're gone.
They're gone. That's how they got to be big. So, and a lot of people don't have the gear to handle the fish at Millerton. They maybe have smaller gear that they think they're going to catch a striper with. A 20-pound striper and up is going to give you all you can handle on regular gear, and unless you're really skilled, he's probably going to break your line or basically bend your hooks out. So, guys, I tell people this all the time: if you're going to go looking for elephants and hunt elephants, you need an elephant gun, and so you need to have the right equipment to be able to handle those bigger fish.
So if you're a starter, better to start at San Luis.
Absolutely. San Luis is the place to start. You have a better chance of catching fish, to actually get some feedback when you catch fish. Then you start to know, okay, I'm doing something right. But once again, a lot of people go over there, and San Luis can be really difficult. Stripers are not the easiest fish in the world to catch. Sometimes, like all fish, they can be just dumb stupid, and you go out there, throw a sardine or a minnow, and they'll bite it if you're in the right spot. But a lot of times it can be difficult. Those fish move a lot, and you've got to know what you're looking for. So to consistently do it, you know, stripers, you need to have a little bit of knowledge about what you're doing.
And the other thing is that Millerton is what, half full right now, because
Yes.
water is consistently coming in, where San Luis is just one big bucket. The water is in there. It's nothing is flowing in there except
That's right.
from the forebay.
That's right. San Luis is the largest off-river reservoir in the world, which means that there's no flow into it.
I like to say it's kind of off the grid.
It's
right?
off the grid. It's just
Yeah.
the biggest filling tank in the world at 2.1 million acre feet. And as of today, it's about 2,300,000. So it's about
so
a
they
foot and a
have
half
to
from
keep
the top.
Millerton half full just because they have to anticipate what's coming down from
They
the
have to
mountains.
anticipate it. So what's happening in Millerton, fishing-wise too, is like a lot of the lakes right now, is they have to drop. They're dropping it in anticipation of all the water coming. So what happens is the stability for the fish, you're dropping water. All the bait fish go different places. Everything changes.
Yeah.
So your ability to pattern fish becomes real difficult. So Millerton becomes very hard because it's going up and down with water coming in, going out. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
There's a different
factors.
flow to it.
There's a whole different flow and a whole lot of factors that go into what makes it work.
Same kind of fish as San Luis, but different flow,
Yes.
older fish, and it's a different scenario.
Different environment. Different
Different
environment. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Different ecosystem.
A different
so to-
ecosystem. That's
yeah.
right.
Anyway, okay, so don't do the following. If you go out there boating, don't drink, don't
Yeah.
have an illegal engine. What
Yeah.
else?
Well, the other thing is, if you go to San Luis, you're going to have a quagga inspection to get on the lake, and that means that those little quagga mussels that they've had, those things
Yeah.
are terrible, and they came from
Oh.
Asia, and so now they're trying to keep them out of San Luis and Millerton. San Luis has a very strict procedure. Your boat has to be checked and once you're checked and you're okayed, you get a band. And
Yeah.
so at that point, you can go in, put the boat, when you leave the lake, if you get a band, then you're okay.
Gotta go.
You bet.
Roger, don't want to get cut off. Thank you, sir.
Hey, great.
Come back again soon. The one and only Roger George, Hall of
Thank you,
Famer,
John.
going to be inducted in November. Fishing expert, his column is in today's Fresno Bee every Wednesday in the sports section. Check it out. He'll be expanding the coverage on fishing. See you tomorrow with Paul Dictos and Connie Clendenin.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity and our academic and athletic achievements. On Wednesday, May 10th, it will be my pleasure to join John Mallos on Connect with Me on Me TV Fresno. for a 1-hour interview to talk about all the great things happening at Fresno State. See you then.